I'm going to go back and forth from art 1 to art 2 just so that, you know, art 2 is also not just waiting. I'm going to start with a 9B pencil because I found this yesterday in one of these kits. So I'm going to use it. And I wish I could lend you this sharpener, Tajay. I really do. But I think I went and got a lot of art supplies that were just like basic right before AC Moore closed down. So that's why I have all this stuff. I miss them so much. You could go like this in a squiggle. You could do just go and make these little coils. You could do it like that if it's easier for you, or you could go kind of more in a random kind of squiggle. But keep your little squiggles. This is Sgraffito that we're doing. It's a shading technique that kind of lends an interesting texture. It kind of creates a curly, tight, kind of woven, woolly texture. And yes, there is a time and a place to use this value creating technique. It imparts, like I said, the texture is the implied feel of a surface. So not only are you shading when you're using this technique, but you're also expressing how something feels on its surface. You can use this like if you are shading in somebody's sweater, or if somebody has really, really fine curls on their hair, or if they have hair for their hair, or if they have hair on their face. Like if this is a man's portrait, you could use a little Sgraffito to describe like the texture of hair on the face a little bit. So it's just a mark making technique that you can employ. And there are pictures that have this. I mean, I could go ahead and I could try to dig up a drawing by Michelangelo or Leonardo da Vinci that uses this. But it just is more interesting than having everything be smooth, you know, on a portrait or on a drawing. Like the person's face is smooth, their hair is smooth, their clothes are smooth. That's boring. And in reality, everything has its own texture. So this is just one more tool to add to your drawing, you know, arsenal here. So that's pretty dark. And I still see though little white specks showing through, but I'm gonna leave it for now. And then for the next one, I'm gonna switch it up to this 6B pencil here. And I might have a squiggly technique. Yep, this is a squiggly technique called Sgraffito. And we are going to use that right now. If you're art 1, I'm demonstrating art 1. You could go like this if you want, like just do like coils, or you could do like more random, but keep the coils and the random squiggles very tight for the first couple of boxes. That way, you know, you're putting more pencil down and it'll be darker. Did somebody just say, ew, they don't like this texture? And actually you could use any kind of, you could create your own mark making technique if you want. But this is something that's already been invented and it's used and it's out there. Some people call it scumbling in drawing, but I call it Sgraffito, and most people call it Sgraffito. And Sgraffito actually means scratching, like scratching, because they used to use this technique on a type of painting called encaustic, where people would scratch through layers of colored wax. And instead of using paint, they used wax to create paintings, basically. Because they had wax, you know, laying around. Artists use whatever they have. So, you know, that's just another type of painting. It's kind of a pain because you have to keep melting the wax. But that type of painting is called encaustic. And they would scratch with like a sharp tool and they would make lines and they would call that Sgraffito. But later on, the artists who draw adopted it and just said that Sgraffito was this type of mark making technique. So I'm looking at these two now. And do they look different? Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry about the shine here, it's not the best, but this definitely looks lighter than this. So you could stay with the same pencil you have, and you could do two things to make it lighter. How can I make the next box look lighter without switching up pencils? Does anybody know? Yes, excellent. Both of you, apply less pressure for the next one. And also you can do something else, one other thing. Besides pressure. You could space out the squiggles, right. But I have the pencil, so I am going to switch. So this was a 9B, and you don't have to use a 9B. That's one of the reasons why somebody said, can you write down the pencils that you used? I didn't do that. I changed my mind and I didn't do that because I realized that everybody has different pencils. So your darkest pencil might be a 2B. And you might not have a 6B or a 9B or whatever. And so you're going to have the 2B as your darkest starting point. And then you just really, press down hard on that. And you also put squiggles on top of squiggles and overlap to make that box much darker. So after I do this third one, I'm going to switch over to Art 2, give Art 2 a little bit of instruction so they can get started. And so my squiggles here are much bigger and spaced further apart. So it's going to give this box a much lighter appearance. So today we're doing the Sgraffito. I will put up the assignment and you're going to just take a picture of each technique and attach it to the assignment for me to look at. I will catch up on my grading. So some of you had some questions about, hey, I don't have anything graded for me. I'm concerned about that. I will grade all your work over the weekend on everything that we have done. But right now I'm just kind of occupied with getting these assignments up and examples up. So there is an example, a finished example under each assignment. So you could look at my finished example that I did in class, and then I finished it up outside of class. And then you can kind of see what I'm looking for. And that also includes the Art 2s. So here I'm looking here. And that's definitely, here we go. You can see it out of the glare, that this third one is definitely lighter. It shows more of the white of the paper, and then so on and so forth. So the next one could be a 2B, it could be a 3B if you have it, or it could just be an HB and then just use HB for the rest of them. So my hardest and lightest pencil is going to be a HB. So what I'm going to do is just use a number 2 pencil or an HB pencil, which I do, I have both, and I'm just going to use that and use less pressure and make my squiggles bigger for these for the last like 3 or 4. So I want you to go ahead and work on that Art 1s. Now Art 2s, I said to get 3 colors. So I want you to get like a medium color that is not yellow. So you have a choice. You can use red, you can use green, you can use blue, or even purple, as long as you have a lighter version of that. So if you have purple, you would also try to find a lavender. So find a color that actually has a lighter version of it. A lighter version is called a tint, right? So I want you to find a lighter version of that color too. So here's my medium blue. Here's my lighter blue. So I'm going to choose this. And this blue is a little lighter, but it's also kind of a little bit more bright. Like I feel like there's a little bit of green in there, but that's a little bit lighter. So I'm just trying to show you the colors. And then the darkest, of course, is the black colored pencil. So you don't have to draw these little bars, but you can certainly do that if you want. Okay, so I'm using black, dark blue, and a light blue. So for the first square, okay, this is a copy, so it didn't really copy too well on that side. I'm going to use my dark blue and black for the first 3. I am not going to introduce the lighter color until square number 4, and that will be in there for the rest of the color scale. And then I'm going to slowly drop using the darker color and just be using the light blue. Or actually, no, that's not the case. Actually, I could just mix these two blues together to create my lighter blocks and just drop the black. So let's see how this goes. Whatever you do, what I want you to do is use a combination of at least two of these colors. In the middle, you'll be using all three. And at the end, you might just drop the black and then just use the lighter blue and the darker blue. And for the last square, you might just have the light blue. So you're kind of using multiple pencils in only some of the squares. So let me do the first 3 with you. I'm going to grab the dark blue. I'm putting the light blue away because I don't want that in the first 3 boxes. I want to keep these pretty dark. So, okay, I'm going to just move that over here. And like I said, use a handheld pencil sharpener. It's better than an electric one in the case of these using art pencils because they are kind of expensive. They are an extra cost. And so for this one, I'm going to use this little coiling technique. It's the same as Sgraffito. It's just like a slightly different way of doing it. I just wanted to show you how that looked. And, you know, I just don't want you to wear down your pencils really fast by using an electric one. Sometimes the more simpler things are better. Some people even use little knives and just have a little knife in their art box and they just kind of hand shave their pencils and just shape it a certain way. There's an advantage to using a knife too, like a little carving knife, because you don't waste as much as even a pencil sharpener. So that's my medium blue. Then I'm going to do a layer, and this is going to stick to all these little white specks. The black colored pencil is going to adhere to all the little white areas. It will cover over some of the blue too, of course, but colored pencil likes to stick to the paper, the naked paper for like really well. And sometimes it kind of comes off like flakes or like a powder when you try to rub it over an area that already has a lot of colored pencil. It just will not stick to it very well. Okay, so it's not a perfect blend, but you're supposed to be looking at drawings and art from a distance when you go to a museum. You know how they say, young lady, step off there, you're getting too close. Part of that is security, of course, but part of that is you're not supposed to look at art that closely. You're supposed to kind of enjoy the scene or the colors and have them blend from a distance. So you should stay a couple feet away when you are looking at art. So I put blue, black, and now back to blue, and then I'm going back to black. I think that sometimes I'm getting like these little stripes. So whereas with the other technique where it was more random, I feel like it was a little bit more uniform coverage and I didn't get like these little lines. So it's just, you know, both are acceptable and they will both create a color scale art twos. But you know what? I'm kind of leaning more toward the random squiggles because they don't create these like little lines in some places. But I will just use this technique since I started it and just finish up with that technique because I don't want to switch to a different looking mark. Okay, I'm going to do my next one. So I'm still sticking with the dark blue and the black. I'm not incorporating any of the lighter color blue. So I'm going to stick to this coiling technique like this instead of like the random. And I am making my loops a little bit bigger now. But I'm still going to put several layers, alternating layers of blue and black and blue and black, and keep doing that maybe 3 or 4 times, or three or 4 layers of alternating color. So if you like working in this way, you could do this way. You could do it this way, or you could do the more random way. It's whatever you like. Now I'm going to go over it with the black and kind of match the same size of the little squiggles that I just put down. So why are we doing this, and what are we kind of working toward? Because when we make these, when I make you do these exercises, I do have an end goal in mind, and this is what we're working toward. We want to do this and then maybe practice next week how to draw basic forms. Like we're talking about the sphere, the cube, the cone, and the cylinder. This is darkest, this is getting lighter, and this is going to be the lightest. I did not put any black in, and so see how like very different it is without the black. So we're going to blend a little bit of black in there. Okay, so I'm looking at this, and this works. This works. If you don't like this and you feel like maybe your three do not look different from each other, then that's when you're going to have to go back and make the first two darker to differentiate, so that your third one looks different from them. Okay, so I want this to look different from that, and I want this to look different from that. Maybe this is looking too close to that, so maybe I will make that a little darker as well. But it should be like a very clear line where, you know, each value starts and stops. Okay, does anybody have a question about what I just showed you so far? Okay, so now we're getting kind of in the middle here, R2s. So I'm going to just put like a light layer of the blue, and after this square, I think I might start to slowly take away the black. So I'm just going to make my coils really large compared to the one before. It's larger. All right, now I'm going to incorporate, slowly introduce the lighter blue and see if that does anything. And I don't think it matters what order you do it in. So I did darker blue, lighter blue, black. You could put the black kind of in between the two blues, and very, very lightly, just very lightly, I'm going to put in the little black coils. This and this, they look a little too close. I don't think I like that. So I'm going to add a little bit more black to the one above it so that it looks a little bit darker. But then I might make this one look like this one. But I don't think that's going to happen because this one is so much darker. So I think that that's going to take care of that problem. And these two will look different from each other. Okay, so I did that. Okay, that did it. That little bit of black differentiated them. So maybe I'll put another layer of the dark blue in here. Okay, yes. So I'm making this a little bit darker because these two are now starting to get very similar. So it is a little bit of a challenge. We did the scribble shading technique. We did the cross-hatching technique that Kayla just mentioned. That was number 2, the technique number 2. And technique number 3 that we're learning was Sgraffito. This is for the art ones, you can see. If you look here, I also wrote down the numbered pencils, but that really doesn't matter because everybody has like different pencils. Your darkest pencil may be darker than a 9B, or it might be lighter. I have an example of the finished Sgraffito, okay? And you can see that each of these boxes are different. The finished color one looks like this. And here I used the three colors. I used a darker blue, if you remember. You used a darker blue, black, and a lighter blue. The tint of the blue color. A tint is the color plus white. So I used those. And then what I did was I used actually the black all the way down to square number 6. So I used it pretty far down, but I lightened up on my pressure so it was barely visible. But I didn't take it away right away because it looked too different when I took it away. I needed that change. I needed that change to look gradual. So, I took it away right after 4, 5, 6, right after block number 6. At block number 7, it's just these two blues and a lot of white. So I made my squiggle lines very wide spaced. And then block number 8 is just the light blue. So I left it just with the light blue. I only used that. So that's how I was able to get each of these squares to go lighter, lighter, and lighter. But you may have to stretch the use of that black all the way down so that it looks like the colors relate to each other better. Okay? And then here is an example of that cross-hatching. I was trying to explain this to Kayla, but I couldn't get my camera to work. So the example is this one. This one is going to be, I'll try to put finished examples of kind of what I'm talking about, what I'm looking for. I'll just finish up what I demonstrated in class and post that with the assignment as an attachment, okay? And then you do your own. Don't attach my my thing back to me. You do your own.